You begin this journey not by traveling outward, but by drifting inward, toward a place you rarely visit with awareness. As your body settles into stillness, you realize that beneath the quiet rise and fall of your breath, an entire universe is already awake. It hums softly, unseen and unnamed, yet profoundly alive. This is not imagination. This is biology, unfolding gently inside you. You are taught to think of your body as one thing, a single self moving through the world. But as you listen more closely, that idea begins to loosen. Inside your gut alone live trillions of microscopic organisms, bacteria, fungi, and other tiny forms of life outnumbering your human cells. They do not arrive as invaders. They are born into you, grow with you, adapt to you. They are not passengers. They are residents. Imagine your gut as a vast landscape at dusk. Valleys fold into one another. Rivers of nutrients flow slowly through. Along the surface, entire communities gather, work, rest, and respond. Some microbes break down fibers your body cannot digest alone, turning rough plant matter into gentle nourishment. Others produce vitamins quietly, without announcement. Some train your immune system like patient teachers, helping it recognize what belongs and what does not. You do not feel these processes directly. They happen below sensation, below language. Yet their influence rises upward, shaping how you feel in subtle ways. The steadiness of your energy. The calm or unease in your mood. Even the way your body responds to stress. Your inner ecosystem speaks a quiet language, and your nervous system listens. For a long time, science believed the gut was little more than a tube, a place where food entered, broke down, and left. But this view now feels thin, like describing a forest as simply a collection of sticks. Researchers begin to notice patterns. Changes in gut microbes accompany changes in mental health, immunity, metabolism. The gut and the brain appear to talk to one another constantly, sending chemical messages back and forth like slow-moving letters. This communication happens through many channels. Nerves extend from your gut to your brain, forming a direct line of conversation. Hormones released by microbes drift into your bloodstream, influencing distant organs. Even the immune cells that patrol your body take cues from microbial activity. You are not just thinking with your brain. You are thinking with your body, and your body is thinking with its microbes. As you rest here, the idea of control begins to soften. You are not commanding this system moment by moment. You are hosting it. Like a garden, it responds to conditions rather than orders. Water changes the soil. Light shifts growth. Time allows balance to emerge. Your microbiome responds the same way, shaped by patterns repeated gently over days and years. This reframing is important. When the body is treated like a machine, every problem demands a fix, a replacement, a correction. But an ecosystem asks different questions. It asks about relationships, about diversity, about resilience. It asks what has been crowded out, what has been starved, what has been rushed. In this inner world, balance does not mean stillness. It means movement without collapse. Microbes rise and fall in number as food changes, as stress arrives, as sleep deepens or fragments. This constant adjustment is not failure. It is life responding to life. Your health does not come from freezing this system in place, but from allowing it room to adapt. You may notice how comforting this idea feels. You do not have to perfect yourself. You do not have to eliminate every flaw. Instead, you tend to conditions. You create space for cooperation rather than conflict. Your body is not broken. It is busy. Even now, as you lie listening, microbes are preparing for the night. Some become more active during rest, repairing gut lining, producing molecules that calm inflammation. Others slow down, conserving energy. Your circadian rhythm, the internal clock guiding sleep and wakefulness, extends into this microbial world. Night changes the rules. Darkness shifts chemistry. Rest signals safety. This is why sleep matters so deeply, not only for your thoughts, but for the countless lives woven into your own. When sleep becomes shallow or scarce, the ecosystem tightens. Diversity shrinks. Opportunistic species take more space. But when rest returns, balance slowly follows. Not instantly. Gently. You begin to sense that you are not alone inside yourself. And instead of fear, a quiet companionship emerges. These microbes have lived with humans for thousands of years, adapting as diets changed, as environments shifted. They carry memory in their genes, recording ancient meals, ancient migrations. In a way, your body remembers histories your mind never learned. This perspective changes how you listen to discomfort. Bloating, fatigue, unease, these are not enemies. They are signals from a system asking for adjustment. Not punishment. Not shame. Just attention. As your breathing deepens, the boundary between you and them blurs further. The microbiome is not separate from you. It is part of how you exist. A living layer between you and the world, translating what you consume into what you become. You are not a sealed individual. You are a collaboration. And as this realization settles, a gentle curiosity begins to form. If so many lives share your inner space, who are they exactly? How do they differ? What roles do they play, and how do they coexist without chaos? The questions drift softly forward, inviting you to meet the invisible citizens who call your body home. As sleep approaches, you sense that this inner universe is not silent, only patient, and soon, you will begin to notice the many quiet voices within it. You continue inward, deeper than muscle and bone, into a place where names are rarely spoken aloud. Here, life moves at a scale too small for your eyes, yet too important to ignore. This is where the invisible citizens live. They do not announce themselves. They do not knock. They simply arrive, settle, and begin the quiet work of living alongside you. For much of human history, these tiny beings were known only through their absence. When illness came, they were blamed. When decay appeared, they were feared. The word microbe became tangled with danger. But as your awareness softens, a more nuanced picture begins to emerge. Not all citizens are villains, and not all heroes are loud. Most are simply present, doing what life does best, persisting. Bacteria are the most numerous among them. They come in countless shapes, each adapted to a specific task. Some prefer oxygen, others avoid it entirely. Some thrive on fiber, others on sugars or fats. They form neighborhoods along your gut lining, clustering where conditions feel right. You might imagine them like towns along a river, shaped by the flow of nutrients passing through. Fungi live here too, fewer in number but no less important. They are often misunderstood, associated with rot or infection. Yet many fungal species act as stabilizers, keeping bacterial growth in check, recycling waste, and maintaining structure within the ecosystem. They are the quiet recyclers, turning excess into usefulness. Even viruses appear in this inner world, though not in the way you were taught to fear them. Many infect bacteria rather than human cells, shaping populations through gentle pressure rather than destruction. They are regulators, trimming excess, preventing any one group from overwhelming the rest. Without them, balance would tilt. As you rest with this idea, the language of good and bad begins to feel too sharp, too simple. In ecosystems, context matters more than labels. A microbe that supports digestion under one condition may cause discomfort under another. The same organism can be helpful or harmful depending on timing, abundance, and environment. This is not moral failure. It is ecology. Your immune system understands this nuance intuitively. It does not aim to erase all microbes. Instead, it learns, remembers, and negotiates. Early in life, your immune cells are trained by microbial exposure, learning what belongs and what does not. Too little exposure, and the system becomes jumpy, mistaking harmless signals for threats. Too much disruption, and confusion follows. You are not meant to be sterile. You are meant to be inhabited. This realization brings a certain softness. You do not need to wage war inside yourself. Health is not achieved by elimination, but by relationship. By allowing diversity to flourish while preventing dominance. Just as a forest thrives with many species rather than one, your inner ecosystem depends on variety. Each citizen responds to your daily rhythms. What you eat shifts the balance within hours. A fiber-rich meal invites certain bacteria to bloom, producing compounds that soothe inflammation and feed gut cells. A highly processed meal favors others, quick to multiply but less generous in return. Neither choice defines you forever. The system remembers patterns, not moments. Stress enters this world too. When your nervous system tightens, blood flow shifts, hormones change, and microbes feel it. Some retreat. Others take advantage of the altered terrain. Chronic stress does not just exhaust your thoughts, it reshapes your inner population. Calm, on the other hand, signals safety. It invites cooperation. You begin to see how deeply connected these citizens are to your emotions. Certain microbes influence the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, chemicals associated with mood and motivation. This does not mean microbes control your feelings. It means feelings are co-created, arising from many layers at once. There is comfort in shared responsibility. As night deepens, the ecosystem settles into a slower rhythm. Digestion eases. Repair processes take precedence. Microbes that prefer darkness and stillness become more active. Others rest. This daily cycle mirrors the larger truth: balance is dynamic, not fixed. It moves with time. When imbalance occurs after illness, medication, or prolonged stress, it is tempting to seek a single culprit. But ecosystems rarely fail because of one resident alone. More often, diversity has narrowed. Pathways have been simplified. the system has lost flexibility. Restoring balance, then, is not about punishment. It is about invitation. Creating conditions where many voices can return to the conversation. You sense now that your body is less like a fortress and more like a city. Gates open and close. Trade occurs. Waste is managed. Laws emerge through interaction rather than decree. You are not the mayor issuing orders. You are the climate in which decisions unfold. This perspective encourages patience. Changes inside you take time because life takes time. Microbes do not rearrange themselves overnight. They respond gradually, adapting generation by generation. Small, consistent signals matter more than dramatic interventions. As your breathing slows further, you feel gratitude for these unseen companions. They ask little. They require no praise. They simply respond to how you live. They mirror your habits, your rhythms, your care. And as sleep approaches, another question begins to glow softly in your mind. If these invisible citizens are always listening, always adapting, how exactly do they learn you so well? How do your repeated choices become biological memory? The thought drifts gently onward, preparing you to explore how microbes come to know you, slowly and intimately, over time. As the inner city grows quiet for the night, you sense that every small habit leaves a footprint, and soon, you will begin to notice how deeply your inner world remembers you. You rest now with the sense that nothing inside you is random. The invisible citizens you have met are not drifting aimlessly. They are attentive. They are responsive. They are learning you, slowly and patiently, the way a landscape learns the passage of feet across its soil. Every day, you send signals inward. Some are obvious: meals, movement, sleep. Others are quieter: stress held in the jaw, emotions swallowed rather than released, moments of rest taken or denied. Your microbes do not judge these signals. They record them. They adapt. Imagine a forest floor after snowfall. The first footsteps leave faint impressions. Walk the same path again and again, and the ground begins to remember. Over time, a trail forms, not because the forest chooses it, but because repetition reshapes the terrain. Your inner ecosystem works in much the same way. Microbes live short lives. Some divide every 20 minutes, others more slowly, but all move through generations far faster than you do. This speed allows them to respond to patterns quickly. When you eat similar foods day after day, microbes best suited to those foods multiply. When stress becomes familiar, microbes that tolerate inflammatory conditions gain ground. The ecosystem shifts, not suddenly, but steadily. This is how learning happens without a brain. Your gut is not passively waiting for instruction. It is constantly adjusting, anticipating what comes next based on what came before. If fiber arrives regularly, microbes that ferment it thrive, producing short-chain fatty acids that nourish your gut lining and calm your immune system. If fiber is scarce, those microbes fade, and others step into the open space. None of this is permanent. The system remains flexible. But it does remember momentum. You may notice how comforting this realization feels. You are not trapped by a single choice. Yet you are not invisible to yourself either. Your body is paying attention, even when your mind is distracted. It is responding to trends rather than exceptions. Stress is one of the strongest teachers in this inner classroom. When your nervous system stays activated for long periods, stress hormones circulate through your body, altering gut movement, blood flow, and immune signaling. Microbes experience this as a shift in weather. Some species struggle under these conditions. Others adapt quickly. Over time, a stressed environment favors microbes that tolerate instability. This can reduce diversity, making the ecosystem less resilient. Not weaker, but more specialized. Like a forest dominated by a few hardy plants, it survives, but with less flexibility. Sleep acts as a counterbalance. During deep rest, your body sends signals of safety. Cortisol drops. Repair pathways open. The gut lining renews itself. Microbes that support maintenance and balance find room to grow. Night after night, sleep teaches your ecosystem that it can soften. You begin to see that habits are not just behaviors. They are biological messages. Even emotions play a role. Joy, anxiety, grief, these states shift breathing, muscle tension, hormone release. Microbes respond to these internal climates, just as they respond to food. This does not mean you are responsible for every fluctuation inside you. It means that experience leaves traces. The idea of learning here is gentle. Microbes do not plan. They do not remember the past consciously. They respond through survival and reproduction. Those that fit the environment continue. Those that do not fade. Over time, the ecosystem reflects the life it supports. This reflection can feel confronting. It suggests that your body carries a record of how you live. But it also offers hope. Records can change. Paths can be softened. New routes can form. Small shifts matter. Adding a single source of fiber, taking a brief walk, allowing 1 extra hour of sleep, these are not trivial acts. To microbes, they are meaningful changes in terrain. Repeated softly, they reshape the inner world. You do not need dramatic reinvention. Ecosystems resist sudden upheaval. They respond best to steady signals. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. As you breathe slowly, you may sense how much pressure falls away with this understanding. Health is not a test you pass or fail. It is a conversation unfolding over time. Some days you speak clearly. Some days you whisper. The system listens regardless. Early life plays a special role in this learning. The microbes that arrive during birth and infancy help shape immune development, metabolism, and even stress response. These early patterns matter, but they do not lock the story. Change remains possible throughout life, though it may move more slowly. Your microbiome also learns from the world beyond you. Travel introduces new species. Relationships bring shared microbes. Pets, soil, plants all contribute. You are not closed off. You are permeable. This permeability is not a weakness. It is how ecosystems stay alive. You may notice now how different this view feels from the idea of fixing yourself. There is nothing broken here. There is only adaptation. Sometimes adaptation leads to discomfort when conditions are harsh or narrow. But the solution is rarely force. It is often expansion, more variety, more rest, more gentleness. As night deepens, your inner ecosystem continues its quiet study. It notes the slowing of your breath, the lengthening of stillness. It adjusts accordingly. Even this moment becomes data, reinforcing patterns of calm. And as your awareness drifts, a new curiosity emerges. If microbes learn from patterns, and patterns are shaped strongly by what you eat, then food becomes more than fuel. It becomes structure. It becomes design. The thought settles softly, preparing you to explore how meals quietly build the architecture of your inner world. As your body memorizes this moment of rest, you begin to sense that every bite you take is a blueprint, and soon, you will see how food slowly shapes the spaces where life grows. You arrive now at a familiar place, one you visit every day, often without much thought. Food. It sits at the center of routine, culture, comfort, and habit. Yet as you rest with your awareness turned inward, food begins to look different. It is no longer just energy entering your body. It is material. It is structure. It is architecture for the living world inside you. Imagine a city being built grain by grain, beam by beam. The materials matter. Not because one brick is heroic and another is flawed, but because form follows substance. Your inner ecosystem is built the same way. Every meal delivers raw materials that microbes use to construct pathways, neighborhoods, and relationships. Calories tell you how much energy food contains, but they say very little about what that food becomes once it arrives. Inside your gut, food is taken apart, shared, transformed. Some nutrients pass quickly into your bloodstream. Others linger, feeding microbes slowly, shaping the terrain they inhabit. Fiber is one of the most important of these building materials. You cannot digest it on your own. It reaches your gut intact, like unfinished lumber delivered to a worksite. Microbes take over from there, breaking it down through fermentation. In the process, they produce compounds that nourish your gut lining, calm inflammation, and help regulate metabolism. Fiber becomes scaffolding. It gives structure to the ecosystem, supporting diversity. When fiber is abundant, many different microbial species can coexist, each specializing in a different step of the process. When it is scarce, fewer species dominate, and the system becomes simpler, less resilient. This is not a moral judgment. It is mechanics. Highly processed foods arrive differently. Their structures are already broken down, their nutrients quickly absorbed. Very little remains for microbes to work with. The ecosystem grows quieter. Fewer conversations take place. Over time, this silence reshapes the inner landscape. You begin to see meals as messages. Repeated patterns matter more than isolated choices. A single meal does not redesign a city, but years of similar materials do. Fermented foods enter this story gently. Yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sourdough, these foods arrive carrying living cultures or the byproducts of microbial activity. They do not colonize your gut permanently in most cases, but they interact with existing residents. They introduce variety. They remind the ecosystem of older rhythms. Fermentation itself is a kind of dialogue between humans and microbes, practiced long before science named it. It is preservation through partnership. Transformation through patience. Protein plays its role as well, supplying amino acids that build tissue, enzymes, and signaling molecules. Fats carry fat-soluble vitamins and shape hormone production. These nutrients matter deeply, but in the context of architecture, fiber and complexity often determine how space is used. You notice how this perspective softens urgency. There is no perfect meal, no single superfood that fixes everything. Architecture emerges slowly. Nourishment accumulates. Your gut lining responds to what microbes produce. When conditions are supportive, this lining stays strong and selective, allowing nutrients through while keeping harmful substances out. When conditions are harsh or imbalanced, tiny gaps can form, triggering immune responses. Again, this is not failure. It is feedback. Food also carries information beyond nutrients. Color, texture, aroma, these sensory signals activate anticipation in your nervous system. Digestion begins before the first bite, influenced by expectation and mood. Eating in a state of rush or tension sends a different signal than eating in calm. Your microbes notice this too. Meals eaten slowly, with attention, are accompanied by digestive signals that support balance. Meals eaten under stress arrive in a different chemical environment. The food may be the same, but the context changes everything. This is why nourishment cannot be reduced to lists and rules. Two people can eat the same meal and experience it differently. Their ecosystems are distinct, shaped by history, genetics, and habit. Architecture is always local. You may feel relief here. You do not need to eat perfectly. You need to eat consistently in ways that create space for life. Diversity over time matters more than strict adherence in moments. Plants play a special role in this long-term design. Each plant contains a unique mix of fibers and compounds. The more variety you offer, the more niches appear inside you. Different microbes thrive in different conditions. Diversity invites diversity. Animal-based foods contribute differently, offering dense nutrients with little residue for fermentation. In balance, they can support health. In excess without plant material, they can narrow the ecosystem. Again, this is not a rule. It is a pattern. You begin to sense how food choices ripple outward, shaping energy levels, immune responses, even mood. These effects do not always appear immediately. Architecture reveals itself slowly, like a building emerging floor by floor. Hydration joins this process quietly. Water affects movement, texture, flow. It influences how food travels, how microbes interact, how waste is removed. Even here, simplicity matters. As night deepens, you realize that eating is one of the most intimate ways you participate in your own biology. You are not just consuming. You are constructing. This realization does not demand discipline. It invites curiosity. What materials have you been using? What patterns feel supportive? What feels rigid or sparse? You are allowed to change gradually. Ecosystems prefer gentle redesign. The inner city you host does not ask for perfection. It asks for continuity. For signals repeated often enough to become stable. Nourishment is not a single event. It is a relationship renewed daily. As your breathing slows further, the thought settles comfortably. Food is architecture, yes, but architecture built over time, through many small, ordinary choices. And as sleep draws closer, another layer of the design comes into view. If food shapes the structure of your inner world, then rest and stress must shape its rhythm. The night itself begins to feel important, preparing you to notice what happens inside you while you sleep. You begin to notice how the night changes everything. The world outside grows quieter, edges soften, and demands loosen their grip. Inside you, something similar happens. As your body settles into rest, a subtle shift moves through your inner ecosystem, like lights dimming in a busy city while night crews quietly step into place. Stress and sleep are not abstract states here. They are physical forces, shaping chemistry, movement, and timing. Your microbes feel them as clearly as weather. When stress lingers, it is like a long drought or an unending storm. When rest arrives, it feels like permission. During the day, your nervous system is often alert, scanning, responding, preparing. This state is useful. It helps you move through the world. But when it becomes constant, your body remains braced. Stress hormones circulate longer than they should. Digestion shifts. Blood flow moves away from the gut toward muscles and the brain. Your microbes experience this as a tightening of space. Less nourishment reaches certain areas. Immune activity increases. The environment becomes more volatile. Some species adapt to this tension. Others retreat. Diversity slowly narrows, not because anything is broken, but because the climate has changed. This is why chronic stress leaves such a deep imprint. It is not just a mental experience. It is an ecological one. Sleep reverses much of this pattern. As you lie here, breathing slowly, your nervous system begins to shift toward safety. Heart rate drops. Muscles soften. Stress hormones fade. Blood flow returns to the digestive system. The gut relaxes. For microbes, this is a signal. Conditions are improving. Nighttime is not simply absence of activity. It is a different mode of work. While you sleep, repair takes priority. The lining of your gut renews itself, cells turning over, strengthening barriers. Microbes that support maintenance and balance become more active, producing compounds that soothe inflammation and support immune regulation. This is the microbial night shift. Some microbes follow circadian rhythms just as your body does. Their activity rises and falls with light and dark, feeding and fasting. When sleep is regular, these rhythms align. The ecosystem moves in harmony, with clear periods of work and rest. When sleep becomes irregular or insufficient, this rhythm fractures. Microbes receive mixed signals. Repair windows shrink. Stress-tolerant species gain advantage. Over time, this misalignment can affect metabolism, immunity, even mood. You are not fragile for feeling tired. You are responding to biology asking for time. Rest is often treated as optional, something earned after productivity. But in the language of ecosystems, rest is foundational. It is when systems integrate, reorganize, and restore flexibility. Without rest, even abundance becomes strain. You may notice how comforting it feels to release responsibility here. You do not have to actively heal yourself while you sleep. Healing unfolds on its own, given the right conditions. Your role is simply to allow it. Even brief moments of calm during the day matter. Slow breathing, pauses, gentle movement, these signals tell your nervous system that danger has passed. Microbes respond quickly. The ecosystem does not require perfection. It responds to trends. Stress is not the enemy. It becomes harmful when it never resolves. Just as muscles need tension and release to function well, your inner world needs cycles. Activation followed by rest. Effort followed by recovery. Sleep also shapes how you process food. Overnight fasting gives the gut a break, allowing cleanup and repair. Microbes adjust their activity, conserving energy, recycling byproducts. In the morning, feeding resumes, and the cycle continues. This rhythm is ancient. Long before artificial light, human activity followed the sun. Microbes adapted alongside us. Modern schedules sometimes ask bodies to ignore these patterns. The cost is subtle but cumulative. You may sense now why exhaustion feels deeper than simple tiredness. It is an ecosystem running without maintenance. The solution is rarely more effort. It is usually more permission to stop. Your dreams, too, are part of this story. While you dream, your brain processes emotion and memory. Chemical signals shift. Microbes respond indirectly, sensing changes in hormones and nervous system activity. Even imagination has biological echoes. There is something deeply reassuring in this. You are supported by layers of life working on your behalf, especially when you are unconscious. Sleep is not lost time. It is active care. As you rest, you might feel gratitude arise, not forced, but quiet. Gratitude for a system that repairs itself nightly, given half a chance. Gratitude for the resilience built into your biology. You are not required to optimize every hour. You are allowed to be human. The more you understand this, the less pressure you feel to control every variable. Health is not maintained through constant vigilance. It is maintained through rhythms honored over time. As the night deepens further, your inner world continues its work. Microbes exchange signals. Immune cells patrol calmly. Repair processes unfold without urgency. Balance is not achieved all at once, but renewed repeatedly. And as your mind drifts closer to sleep, another thought begins to surface. If rest and stress shape this ecosystem so powerfully, then interventions meant to help, medicines, hygiene, treatments must shape it too, sometimes in ways we do not immediately see. The curiosity forms gently, without alarm, preparing you to explore how modern tools leave quiet fingerprints on ancient systems. As the night crews finish their silent work, you sense that every act of healing carries echoes, and soon, you will begin to notice how even helpful interventions leave subtle traces behind. You arrive now at a more delicate part of the journey, one that asks for honesty without fear. The story of healing is not a simple one. It is layered, generous, and sometimes complicated by its own success. As you rest here, breathing slowly, you begin to explore how the tools designed to protect you also reshape the inner world they touch. For most of human history, infections were among the greatest threats to life. A small wound could become fatal. A fever could carry someone away. When antibiotics were discovered, they felt miraculous, and in many ways, they were. They transformed medicine, turning once deadly illnesses into manageable events. They saved countless lives, and they continue to do so. Your body remembers this benefit even if your mind does not. There is no judgment here, no turning away from progress. Instead, there is curiosity. What happens when a powerful solution meets a complex ecosystem? Antibiotics work by killing bacteria or stopping them from multiplying. They are not precise instruments. They do not know which microbes are helping you digest food, train your immune system, or calm inflammation. They act broadly, clearing space quickly. In moments of danger, this broad action is necessary. It restores safety. But ecosystems feel this clearing deeply. When antibiotics move through your gut, they reduce not only harmful bacteria but helpful ones as well. Diversity drops. Some species vanish entirely. Others survive and expand into the empty space. The landscape changes rapidly, like a forest after a fire. Fire, too, can be both destructive and renewing. The difference lies in frequency and recovery. After a single course of antibiotics, your microbiome often begins to rebuild. Surviving microbes multiply. New ones arrive from food, environment, and contact with others. Over time, diversity may return, though not always in the same arrangement as before. The ecosystem adapts. When antibiotics are used repeatedly or unnecessarily, recovery becomes harder. The system has less time to rebuild between disruptions. Diversity narrows. Resilience weakens. This does not mean antibiotics are wrong. It means they are powerful. Power always leaves an imprint. Hygiene follows a similar pattern. Clean water, sanitation, and basic cleanliness have dramatically reduced disease. These changes are among the greatest achievements in public health. Your safety depends on them. Yet extreme cleanliness, especially early in life, can limit microbial exposure in ways the immune system expects. Your immune system learns through interaction. It calibrates itself by meeting many microbes, most of them harmless. When exposure is too limited, the system may become overly reactive, mistaking neutral signals for threats. Allergies and autoimmune conditions are more common in environments where microbial diversity is low. This is not about returning to danger. It is about recognizing that protection and exposure must be balanced. You are not meant to live in a sterile bubble. You are meant to live in relationship with the world. Modern life often reduces this contact. Indoor living, processed food, limited interaction with soil and plants all shape your inner ecosystem indirectly. None of this is a personal failure. It is a collective pattern. You may feel a soft sadness here, noticing how far life has drifted from its earlier rhythms. But sadness is not the end of the story. Awareness creates choice. Medicine, hygiene, and technology are not enemies of biology. They are tools. Tools require context. When antibiotics are used thoughtfully, when hygiene protects without isolating, healing and balance can coexist. The goal is not avoidance. It is intention. You may notice how this mirrors other parts of life. Too much control can suffocate growth. Too little structure can invite harm. Health lives between these extremes. Recovery after disruption takes patience. After antibiotics, your microbiome does not reset overnight. It responds to what you offer next. Fiber, variety, rest, time. These signals invite rebuilding. Fermented foods may help. So may contact with diverse environments. The system wants to recover. You are not broken because you needed help. You are resilient because you can rebuild. There is comfort in this truth. Your body carries memory not just of disruption, but of repair. Each time balance returns, resilience deepens. As you lie here, you may sense a soft shift in how you view intervention. Healing is not always gentle, but gentleness often follows. The question becomes not whether to intervene, but how to support recovery afterward. This perspective removes shame. You do not need to regret medical care that protected you. You simply acknowledge its effects and respond with care. Your inner ecosystem is ancient, but it is not fragile. It has survived migrations, famines, infections, and environmental change. What it needs most is time and consistency. You may notice how calming this realization feels. Health is not about avoiding all disturbance. Disturbance is part of life. What matters is whether the system has space to restore itself. As night continues, the idea settles more deeply. Healing is not erasure. It is adaptation. It is learning to protect without isolating, to intervene without dominating. And as your thoughts grow slower, a gentle curiosity begins to form. If some changes come from outside interventions, perhaps others can be invited intentionally. Perhaps certain additions, certain supports, can guide rebuilding in softer ways. The idea rests quietly, preparing you to explore the promise and limits of probiotics, prebiotics, and the hope often placed in capsules. As the echoes of intervention fade into the night, you sense that rebuilding invites guidance, and soon, you will turn toward the small, hopeful offerings designed to support what grows back. You arrive now at a place filled with hope. Shelves lined with small containers. Labels that promise balance, renewal, restoration. Probiotics. Prebiotics. Words that sound scientific, almost comforting in their precision. As you rest with this idea, you allow curiosity to replace expectation, letting the story unfold gently rather than urgently. After learning how delicate and responsive your inner ecosystem is, it makes sense to want something simple. Something you can add. Something that helps. Capsules offer this promise, a shortcut back to balance, a concentrated form of care you can hold in your hand. And sometimes, they help. Probiotics are living microorganisms, usually bacteria, selected for their potential benefits. When you swallow them, they travel through your digestive system, encountering acids, enzymes, and competition along the way. Some survive the journey. Most do not stay long. They pass through like visitors, not permanent residents. This does not make them useless. Temporary visitors can still influence a place. They interact with existing microbes. They produce signals. They remind the ecosystem of possibilities it may have forgotten. In certain situations, after antibiotics, during illness, or when diversity is low, this nudge can be meaningful. But probiotics are not settlers. They do not rebuild cities on their own. Prebiotics work differently. They are not microbes themselves, but food for microbes already living inside you. Certain fibers and compounds pass undigested into the gut, where resident bacteria use them as fuel. In this way, prebiotics support growth from within, strengthening populations already adapted to your body. This distinction matters. One introduces guests. The other feeds neighbors. Hope often blurs this difference. Marketing favors clarity and certainty. Take this, feel better. But biology rarely moves in straight lines. The effect of any supplement depends on who already lives inside you, what they need, and what conditions surround them. Two people can take the same probiotic and experience completely different outcomes. One feels relief. Another feels nothing. A third feels discomfort. None of these responses are failures. They are feedback. You begin to see that capsules cannot replace context. They cannot override sleep deprivation, chronic stress, or lack of nourishment. They cannot substitute for time. They are tools, not foundations. This realization may feel disappointing at first. But as it settles, it becomes strangely reassuring. It means you are not missing a secret ingredient. There is no single product standing between you and health. True change appears slower than advertisements suggest, but also kinder. It arrives through layers, through repeated signals, through patience. Fermented foods fit into this story as well. Unlike capsules, they arrive as part of a meal, embedded in culture and rhythm. Yogurt, kefir, miso, sauerkraut, these foods carry microbes and metabolites, but also texture, flavor, and familiarity. They tend to integrate more gently into daily life. Yet even fermented foods are not magic. They do not colonize permanently in most cases. They participate briefly, then move on. Their value lies in interaction, not takeover. You may notice how this mirrors relationships in your outer world. Not everyone who enters your life stays forever. Some arrive to teach, to support, to shift perspective. Their influence remains even after they leave. Microbes work the same way. The desire for control is understandable. After disruption, after discomfort, you want reassurance. Capsules offer a sense of agency. Taking something feels better than waiting. There is nothing wrong with this impulse. What matters is expectation. When supplements are viewed as support rather than solutions, they find their place. When they are treated as fixes, disappointment often follows. Biology resists shortcuts not out of spite, but because it is built on cooperation. Your inner ecosystem responds best to environments, not instructions. This is where hope becomes more grounded. Instead of asking, "What should I take?" the question softens into, "What conditions am I creating?" Supplements can be part of those conditions, but they are not the whole landscape. Fiber, variety, rest, movement, these signals speak louder over time than any capsule. They create space for microbes to do what they have always done: adapt, cooperate, rebuild. You may feel relief as this understanding deepens. You are not required to optimize endlessly. You are allowed to be gentle. Progress does not need to be dramatic to be real. There is also humility here. Science is still learning. The microbiome is complex, individualized, and dynamic. What works today may change tomorrow as your ecosystem shifts. This is not instability. It is life in motion. Hope, then, becomes quieter, less urgent, more durable. It lives in consistency rather than intensity, in relationships rather than transactions. As you lie here, breathing slowly, you may notice that your body does not ask for perfection. It asks for attention, for patterns it can trust, for signals repeated long enough to matter. Capsules can be part of that story. But the deeper work happens in kitchens, bedrooms, daily routines. In how you treat stress. In how you allow rest. In how you return to yourself again and again. You are not assembling health from pieces. You are cultivating it. As this thought settles, another realization begins to form. If microbiome engineering is not about control or quick fixes, then perhaps it is about something gentler. Perhaps it resembles gardening more than construction. Guidance rather than command. The idea drifts softly forward, inviting you to rethink what it means to design without domination. As hope grows quieter and more patient, you sense that true change comes from tending rather than forcing, and soon, you will learn how to guide life without trying to control it. You arrive now at a quieter understanding, one that releases effort rather than adding more. The word engineering once sounded sharp, metallic, full of switches and commands. But here, in the soft interior of your body, that meaning begins to dissolve. What unfolds instead feels slower, more patient, and surprisingly gentle. You begin to see that true influence does not come from control. It comes from guidance. Picture a gardener standing at the edge of a plot at dawn. They do not command the seeds to grow. They do not force roots to spread. They study light, moisture, temperature. They prepare the soil. They remove obstacles. Then they wait, trusting life to respond in its own time. This is the kind of engineering your inner ecosystem understands. For a long time, modern thinking treated the body like a machine. Inputs produced outputs. Problems demanded fixes. But ecosystems do not behave like engines. They are adaptive, relational, and sensitive to context. When you attempt to dominate them, they resist. When you create supportive conditions, they flourish. Microbiome engineering, in its truest form, is about nudging probabilities. It is about shaping tendencies rather than issuing commands. You do not decide which microbe thrives tomorrow. You influence which ones are invited over weeks and months. This approach asks for humility. You are not the sole designer here. You are a participant. Small changes become meaningful when they are repeated. A bit more fiber each day slowly widens ecological niches. A regular sleep schedule reinforces circadian alignment. Gentle movement improves circulation and signaling. None of these actions feel dramatic, yet together they reshape the terrain. The ecosystem responds not to intensity, but to consistency. You may notice how this perspective reduces pressure. You no longer need to overhaul your life to matter. Tiny adjustments, held steadily, carry surprising weight. Microbes measure time differently than you do. Generations pass quickly. Patterns compound. This is why abrupt interventions often disappoint. Sudden restrictions, extreme regimens, aggressive cleansing, these shock the system. Ecosystems can survive shocks, but they do not prefer them. They recover best when change arrives gradually, allowing adaptation rather than collapse. Control seeks immediate results. Guidance trusts delayed outcomes. You may sense how this mirrors emotional growth as well. Forcing yourself to feel different rarely works. Creating space, safety, and repetition allows change to arise naturally. Biology follows the same logic. Engineering without control also means accepting uncertainty. You cannot predict exactly how your inner world will respond to every signal. Two people may make similar changes and experience different outcomes. This is not failure. It is individuality expressed through ecology. Instead of asking for guarantees, you learn to watch trends. Is digestion slowly improving? Is energy stabilizing? Is recovery from stress becoming easier? These shifts are often subtle, noticeable only in hindsight. But they matter. The gardener does not dig up seeds each morning to check progress. They trust the process. You begin to appreciate how restraint itself becomes an intervention. Not adding more supplements. Not chasing every new claim. Allowing time to do its work. Space becomes an ingredient. This does not mean passivity. Guidance still requires attention. You notice how your body responds. You adjust gently. You remain curious rather than rigid. Curiosity keeps ecosystems open. There is also kindness here. When control fails, shame often follows. When guidance is the goal, setbacks become information rather than judgment. If something does not help, you simply note it and move on. Your inner world does not need to be conquered. It needs to be accompanied. As night deepens, this idea settles into your nervous system. You feel less urgency to intervene, more willingness to observe. The body responds immediately to this shift. Muscles loosen. Breathing deepens. Stress signals quiet. Even this moment is guidance. You may reflect on how often you have tried to fix yourself, believing something inside was wrong. This chapter offers a gentler story. Nothing here is broken. It is simply responding to conditions. When conditions change slowly and kindly, responses follow. This reframing also reshapes how you think about the future. Health is no longer a destination reached through force. It is a climate you cultivate. Some seasons are easier than others. Some years require more care. The work is ongoing, but not exhausting. You are allowed to rest inside the process. Engineering without control honors time as a partner. It recognizes that delayed effects are not failures, but features. Life needs room to adjust, to test, to stabilize. When you rush it, you interrupt that intelligence. You may notice how trust begins to replace vigilance. Trust does not mean ignoring problems. It means believing in your capacity to respond without panic. It means knowing that small, steady care accumulates. As your breathing grows slower, the metaphor of gardening feels increasingly accurate. You tend the soil of your life. You notice light and shadow. You water gently. You wait. Growth happens when it is ready. And as this understanding settles fully, another realization emerges. If guidance works within your gut, perhaps it applies beyond it as well. Perhaps your body hosts not one ecosystem, but many, each responding to care in similar ways. Skin, lungs, mouth, surfaces in constant conversation with the world. The thought drifts forward, opening awareness outward once more. As trust replaces control, you sense that this way of tending extends beyond your gut, and soon, you will begin to notice the many other living landscapes that share your body. Your attention begins to widen now, moving outward from the deep interior you have come to know so well. The gut no longer feels like the only center of life. Instead, it feels like one voice in a larger choir. As your breath moves slowly in and out, you sense that your entire body is alive with quiet relationships, each surface hosting its own small, attentive world. Your skin is the first place this awareness settles. It is your boundary with the outside, yet it is not a wall. It is a living landscape, home to countless microbes that gather in the folds, pores, and curves of your body. These organisms do not simply sit there. They interact constantly with your immune system, teaching it how to respond with precision rather than panic. Some microbes on your skin help maintain its acidity, discouraging harmful intruders. Others break down oils and sweat into compounds that subtly shape scent and communication. Together, they form a protective layer that adapts to climate, touch, and habit. Excessive washing can disrupt this balance, while gentle care allows it to recover. Your mouth holds another ecosystem entirely. The oral microbiome is dense, dynamic, and fast-moving. Microbes here respond to every sip, every bite, every pause between meals. They help regulate the health of your gums and teeth, influencing inflammation and even cardiovascular health. The mouth is not separate from the rest of the body. It is a gateway, a crossroads where internal and external worlds meet. As you breathe slowly, your lungs enter the picture. Once believed to be sterile, they are now known to host their own small but significant microbial communities. These microbes interact with immune cells, helping calibrate responses to airborne particles. The rhythm of your breathing shapes this ecosystem, just as food shapes the gut. Breathing polluted air, dry air, or air filled with irritants changes conditions inside the lungs. Calm, slow breathing signals safety. Again, the pattern repeats. Conditions matter more than control. Even your eyes, ears, and nasal passages host microbial life, each adapted to moisture, movement, and exposure. Your body is not dotted with isolated systems. It is a network of overlapping habitats, communicating through shared immune signals and nervous system pathways. Health, then, is not centralized. It does not live in one organ or one solution. It emerges from coordination across many sites at once. This understanding softens the urge to focus narrowly. If something feels off, it may not be located where symptoms appear. An imbalance on the skin can reflect internal stress. Oral inflammation can echo digestive shifts. The body speaks in patterns, not isolated complaints. You are not required to track all of this consciously. Your systems communicate without your supervision. But awareness invites respect. Each surface you inhabit deserves care that acknowledges its complexity. You begin to notice how daily habits ripple across these ecosystems. Touching your face transfers microbes from hands to skin. Sharing meals shares microbes too. Living with others means living with their ecosystems as well. This is not contamination. It is connection. Even loneliness has a biological footprint. Reduced contact with others limits microbial exchange, subtly narrowing diversity. Community, both social and ecological, supports resilience. Nature plays a role here as well. Time spent outdoors introduces new microbes from soil, plants, and air. These exposures are not threats. They are reminders of belonging. The body evolved in dialogue with the environment, not apart from it. Modern life sometimes interrupts this dialogue. Smooth surfaces, filtered air, constant antiseptics, these reduce exposure. Again, this is not a mistake. It is a trade-off. Awareness allows balance. You may feel a sense of expansion as this chapter unfolds. You are not just hosting life in one hidden place. You are a living interface everywhere you exist. Your body is porous in the best possible way. This perspective invites gentleness. Harsh treatments applied repeatedly to skin, mouth, or airways can disrupt balance, just as harsh diets affect the gut. Recovery follows the same principles everywhere: time, variety, and calm conditions. You are not obligated to optimize every surface. The body is capable of finding equilibrium when not constantly interrupted. As night deepens, you may sense a subtle unity emerging. The same principles you learned inside your gut apply everywhere. Diversity supports resilience. Repetition shapes outcomes. Control gives way to guidance. Wholeness is not achieved by perfecting one system. It arises when many systems are allowed to communicate freely. You may notice how restful this idea feels. There is no single point of failure. Health does not collapse if one area struggles. Others compensate. The network adapts. Even illness, when it occurs, is rarely localized. It is a system responding to challenge. Healing, then, becomes systemic too. You are not fragmented. You are integrated. As your breathing slows further, the boundaries between inside and outside soften. You feel less like a container and more like a meeting place. Life flows through you, pauses, moves on. This understanding carries a quiet dignity. You are not separate from the world you live in. You are part of its ecology, shaped by it, shaping it in return. And as this chapter settles, one final thought begins to take shape. If your body hosts many ecosystems, each responding over time, then health is not a problem to solve once. It is a climate to maintain across a lifetime. The idea drifts gently forward, inviting you to reflect on how intention, consistency, and care can guide this living network into the future. As your many inner landscapes rest together in quiet balance, you sense that tending them is a lifelong act, and soon, you will begin to imagine the inner climate you are slowly creating. You have traveled through your inner world, from the gut's hidden universe to the skin's living landscape, from the quiet rhythm of sleep to the subtle effects of modern medicine. Now, in the final chapter of this journey, you arrive at a gentle truth: your inner ecosystem is not a problem to solve, but a climate to maintain. It is not a destination you reach, but a relationship you nurture. The word design often feels ambitious, as if you must engineer a perfect version of yourself. but the design you are capable of is quieter. It is not about control. It is about intention. It is about creating conditions where life can flourish. Like a gardener, you do not force growth. You provide soil, water, light, and time. Then you return again and again, noticing what changes, what thrives, what needs support. Your microbiome responds to patterns, not perfection. It remembers your habits more than your intentions. It learns from repetition. The most profound interventions are not dramatic, but consistent. They are the everyday choices that whisper to your inner world over years, not hours. You begin to see your life as a series of gentle instructions to your ecosystem. When you choose variety in food, you are expanding the architecture of your inner city. When you prioritize sleep, you are allowing maintenance crews to work without interruption. When you manage stress, you are keeping the climate stable enough for diversity to thrive. When you step outside, you are reminding your body that it belongs to the world. These actions are not separate from health. They are health. And because your microbiome is interconnected with many systems, your care becomes holistic by nature. You cannot nurture your gut without affecting your skin, your immune system, your mood, your energy. The body is not a set of compartments. It is a web. This web is influenced by time. Your inner climate is shaped slowly, over years. This means that sudden changes can be unsettling, but also that there is always room for renewal. You are never too late to begin tending. Your ecosystem retains adaptability, even as you age. You may feel relief in this. You are not trapped by earlier choices. You are not defined by a single season. You are a living story that continues to unfold. The concept of resilience becomes central here. Resilience is not the absence of disruption. It is the ability to recover and adapt. A resilient microbiome can handle occasional stress, temporary illness, or a period of poor diet without collapsing. It returns to balance when conditions improve. This resilience is built through diversity, consistency, and time. It is also built through relationships. You are not alone in this. Your body is connected to the people and environments around you. Sharing meals, sharing spaces, sharing laughter, these are not trivial. They are part of the ecosystem's exchange. Community becomes a form of biological support. This understanding transforms how you view self-care. It becomes less like a checklist and more like a way of living. Self-care is not an isolated act. It is the daily practice of creating a climate of calm, nourishment, and connection. You may notice how this idea changes the tone of your inner dialogue. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" you begin to ask, "What does my inner world need today?" The question is softer, kinder. It invites listening rather than judgment. Listening becomes the most important skill. Your body communicates through sensations, cravings, energy levels, and emotions. These signals are not commands. They are messages. They guide you toward balance if you pay attention. As you lie here, you may begin to feel gratitude for the subtle intelligence inside you. The microbiome is not a passive passenger. It is an active partner. It does not simply react. It participates. It co-creates your experience of health. This partnership invites responsibility, but not burden. responsibility becomes gentle. It becomes a commitment to continuity rather than perfection. You do not need to overhaul your life. You need to return to it with awareness. The inner climate you design will not always be calm. Seasons change. Life brings stress. Illness arrives. There will be times when the ecosystem is challenged. But the goal is not to avoid all challenge. It is to cultivate a system capable of recovery. Even the moments of imbalance carry meaning. They are reminders that life is dynamic. They can guide you toward adjustments. They can deepen your understanding of what you need. As you drift closer to sleep, you may notice that the idea of designing an inner climate feels strangely comforting. It places you within a living process rather than outside it. It allows you to participate without needing to dominate. It makes your body feel like a home you care for, not a machine you must fix. And in this home, the most important tools are simple: food, rest, movement, connection, and time. These are the materials of your inner architecture. These are the rhythms that shape your microbiome. You are not perfect. You are not meant to be. You are human. Your microbiome reflects that humanity. It reflects your habits, your history, your environment, your love. It reflects your life. As you surrender to sleep, you may notice a gentle peace. You are not alone. You are not separate. You are part of a living ecosystem that is constantly renewing itself. And as the last thoughts fade, a soft question remains, one that carries you beyond this chapter and into the quiet of the night. What kind of inner climate will you choose to nurture tomorrow? As your breathing slows into the night, you realize that design is not a one-time act, but a lifelong relationship, and the next day will offer another chance to tend the climate you live within.